Okay. So, last class we are discussing about that outcome based education, and we discuss how this will help to further teachers for effective teachings. Now, how do you write down the outcome? What is the mechanism for writing down the outcome? That has to be learned first. So, how do you write? We said that every outcome must be what is required? It must be specific, measurable and achievable, and which students will perform after the instruction. So, if I say if I define a outcome which is not achievable, then the whole objective is gone, that effective teaching. So, I have to write down the course outcome, module outcome, unit outcome such a way which is specific, which is measurable and which is achievable within that class limit. So, if I say that it is a 40 hours course, so within that 40 hours the outcome should be achievable. Now, how do we write down the outcome? That is the science. How to write down the outcome? So, there is a theory and procedure to writing down the outcome, and once I said it is a cognitive, the learning is a cognitive event. So, what is the level of the outcome? If I say, if I explain in that Washington Records and NBA guideline that B engineer must be able to design, analysis, synthesis, application and evaluation. So, what is those? What are those skills? B engineer, if I say that a B engineer will be able to describe the operation of AC machine, is this cognitive level is required for this B engineer? So, there is a level of cognition is also a theory. So, when I write down the outcome, it has two procedures. One is how do I write down the outcome, and once I write down the outcome, what is the cognitive level of the outcome. So, this procedure is called instructional system design, that each outcome is nothing but a instructional objective which is specific, measurable and achievable, and which students will able to perform after the receiving the instruction. So, let us start the theory portion of that things. So, here I will cover the domains of learning. So, my approach is not I am not generally talking about the Bloom taxonomy, its implication, all kind of things. I am talking about how much Bloom taxonomy as a teacher I should know, which will help me to write down the course outcome, module outcome, unit outcome. So, I will cover domains of learning that way, example based. So, I am not theoretically describe the taxonomy of learning, modified taxonomy, all kinds of things are there. Here I only cover those portions which is required to writing down the outcome and define the level of the cognition. Okay? So, what is domains of learning? If we way back, Bloom, Benjamin Bloom has published a handbook in 1956 called Taxonomy of Educational Objective, the classification of educational goal, or I can say, if I say this is my educational goal or outcome, in which class it is, cognitive level, all those things are described by taxonomy of learning, or is described by Benjamin Bloom, that is called Bloom taxonomy. So, if you see the Bloom taxonomy, why he required Bloom taxonomy? Consider as a classic, Bloom taxonomy provide us with a solid theoretical base for planning, teaching, evaluation, macro and micro level. So, it provides systematic planning of teaching, which I have already described, that effective teaching, evaluation also in macro and micro level. It may be a course level, it may be a module level, it may be a unit level. And we can write the curriculum of any course in terms of observable student performance called specific instructional objective. we can plan teaching learning strategy in keeping with our instructional objective. So, those are the, I am not describing the slide, we can plan assessment evaluation, all those things will come when we will go for this. What are the domains of learning? As per Bloom taxonomy, there are 3 domains of learning. One is called cognitive domain, psychomotor domain and affective domain. So, cognitive domain which involve thinking, human cognition, thinking is called cognitive domain. To calculate a value, solve a differential equation is a cognitive domain. It involves thinking. Psychomotor domain involve action. So, it is a psychomotor domain. Suppose a titration experiment, you know that 10 plus 2 there is a titration experiment. So, there is a, I have to control the drop of acid such a way that it's I can determine the, you can say that that experiment. So, this is a psychomotor domain experiment. Latching a signal, measuring that oscilloscope, measuring the frequency, all are psychomotor control also involved. So, that is psychomotor which action is required, that is called psychomotor learning. In normal life, riding a bicycle is psychomotor learning, right? Driving a, you can say that driving a car is also a psychomotor driving. So, this is called involve action, is called psychomotor domain. Suppose in lathe machine, you are preparing a material, you prepare a grinding a, or you are making a hole on a metal bar and of a specific dimension. So, when you operate the machine, it requires your psychomotor domain also. So, that is called psychomotor domain learning which involve action also. So, it is hands eye coordination, not only thinking. Then affective domain involve feeling or attitude, which is ultimate domain. Affective domain, valuing, that suppose somebody said this is harmful for this society, you are valuing based on the fact, analysis, thinking, all kinds of things, you are that is called affective domains of learning. Okay. So, now if you see mostly in our cases, most of the cases in our learning, theoretical learning, classroom teaching, all are deals with cognitive domain, thinking ability. How do I solve, whether I am able to solve, whether I am able to design, all are thinking ability. Now, as per the Bloom taxonomy, each level of that Bloom taxonomy, that whether it is a cognitive domain, whether it is a psychomotor domain, whether it is a affective domain, there is a sub classification also, sub classification of that every domain. 5 to 6 sub classification is there. So, most of the cases in our lecture kind of things in teaching environment are deal with 2 domain, one is called cognitive domain and psychomotor domain. All the theoretical class are dealing with cognitive domain. Maybe some practical class involve some psychomotor domain also. So, all teaching learning paradigm or whenever I teaching in a classroom, all are mostly cognitive domain, but in case of say the engineering students, there is some lab where they have to develop some psychomotor action also. So, that is psychomotor domain. So, cognitive domain and psychomotor domain we are dealing with in here. So, in cognitive domain there is a division. Cognitive domain divisions are, as original Bloom taxonomy says, knowledge. This knowledge is not wisdom. This knowledge is remembering the fact, definition, value. What is the value of pi? Pi is equal to 3.141. So, this is remembering the value, that is knowledge domain. This knowledge is not wisdom. This knowledge is nothing but a remembering fact, definition. Those are called that basic level, first level of cognition. So, lowest level of cognition which is called knowledge level. So, knowledge is the lowest level of cognition which is remembering or definition, remembering a definition is a knowledge. Then come to comprehension. So, translate, suppose something is written in English, I want to translate in Bengali. So, this is a comprehension domain, okay. Little bit of higher than the remembering domain in cognitive level, then application level, then analysis level, then synthesis level, then evaluation level. So, all are the cognition level from down to up. So, if it is a knowledge level, comprehension level, application level, analysis level, synthesis level, evaluation level. Now, if I say the B engineer, they are deal with design, solving, calculating, formulating, all are in higher cognitive domain, not lower cognitive domain. So, you may say, how do I design unless I know the definition, facts and all the values? Yes, it is true. You have to know all those lower level before you go to the upper level. But if I am able to solve in upper cognitive level, that means I assume that you have already acquired the lower domain. So, if I am able to design a circuit, then that means I am able to describe it. It is assumed that yes, until unless I am able to describe it, I cannot design it. So, as per the Bloom taxonomy, if I able to perform in higher cognitive level, that assume that lower cognitive level are achieved. So, revised Bloom taxonomy, it is revised then, only thing is that change to verb, because it is an action, cognition action which learner will perform. So, it is not noun. So, what is verb? Remembering. Learner has to remember, learner has to understand or comprehend, learner has to apply, learner has to analyze, learner has to evaluate, learner has to creating. So, ing will be deleted in here, not apply, analyze, evaluate and create, not evaluating. And revise, somebody said that okay, synthesis and evaluating may be interchanged. Instead of synthesis, we can say creation. Okay. Creation can be, creation means creating a new design, creating a new model. We can say those kind of creation. I am not saying the creation like Tagore's write a poem, that is beyond that. This creation of a painting is beyond that creation. But here let us deal with that Bloom taxonomy, not revised one. So, if you see that all framework software all are developed based on the original Bloom taxonomy, not revised one, almost same, only is what we are looking with the verb only. So, now if I deal with that things, then the knowledge is nothing but a recalls of data, remembering previously learned material. Comprehension is nothing but the ability to grab meaning of material. Analysis is nothing but the ability to break down material into component parts, so that its organizational structure may be understood. So, knowledge means remembering the fact, comprehension means ability to grab meaning of the material, describe the operation of a machine. Okay? So, write an essay, write an précis of this description. So, summarize this description. So, all are in comprehension level. Then I say there is a called application. So, what is application? Use of concept in new situation. So, I know Newton's second, let us example give it. Define Newton's second law of motion is nothing but a knowledge level, because I have to remember the Newton's second law of motion, what is written, and I have to recall that, remember when somebody asks define Newton's second law of motion. But if I say calculate the force for a given mass and acceleration, then I am applying Newton's second law of motion in that cases. Most of the time we said apply Newton law is a application level objective, is not. I have to, what I have to perform, what I have to apply? Calculate value of force for a given mass and acceleration, I can say it is application domain. I am applying Newton's second law of motion to find out the value of force. So, I am applying the concept in new situation, that is why it is called application domain. Analysis, I have to analyze. So, analysis means that something is given, some circuit is given, I have to analyze the circuit. What do you mean by analyze the circuit? That means I should be able to break it in different parts and I can find out the value in different position. So, analyze means a complex problem is given and I am able to break down the problem in different part and details analyze that every part to determine or to do something. So, that is analysis. Then I can say synthesis. What is synthesis? It is after I will analyze. Analyze means breaking down in several parts. Synthesis means putting together several components to build a model. So, there is so many components are there. So, synthesis means I can put together all those facts and to build a model or to build something is called synthesis. Then last level is called evaluation. It is nothing but optimization. Suppose somebody give me a design and told me examine the design and determine, or you can say the optimize the power consumption of the circuits. So, when I am optimizing it, that means I am evaluating the circuits and determine the optimum condition. So, that is evaluation. Justify is an evaluation. I am justifying whether this design is correct or not with respect to certain criteria. I am justifying the design, then it is called evaluation level. Only remember, when you write down an instructional objective in evaluation level and analysis level, what is required? Until unless I do not know with what respect I have to evaluate that skill, I cannot evaluate it. So, criteria is important. So, when I write an objective in evaluation level, cognition level, I have to put the criteria is mandatory. So, I will discuss those things, we will discuss with giving a real example. Okay. So, this is the Bloom taxonomy: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Knowledge is nothing but a remembering the fact, what is happening, why it is happening, those things. Comprehension is nothing but a comprehend, did understand something. That suppose something is given in English, you have to translate in the local language. Something is given, something is given, you have to say write a précis, summarize that things, or you should describe the AC machine operation. All are comprehension domain. Then applying, you know many concepts. I know Newton's law, I know that law, those law, but when I apply those law in a new situation, then it is called application level. Then analysis level, ability, the skill by which I can break down a complex problem in several parts is called analysis domain. Synthesis, when I put together all parts to build a model, is called synthesis domain. Evaluating, when I optimizing, when I justifying, when I value judging, all those things are called evaluation domain. So, if you go through these slides, which will be available in your portal, the type of knowledge, all things are described: terminology, term, concept of science. So, all are knowledge. Then you can say the knowledge of specific facts, then data. So, value of pi is a fact. Then there is called knowledge of conversion, convert inch to centimeter, centimeter to inch, all are conversion kind of things, conversion wall. Then all those are there. I am not going slide by slide. So, it is there, you can see. Similarly, once you see that type of knowledge, what I said, the Bloom taxonomy is nothing but describe, it is knowledge level, because the performance of the learner is in remembering level. So, once I said it is a performance of the learner, that means after the instruction student has to do it. Once it is do it means there is a work is involved. So, work, how do you describe work in English language? Nothing but action verb. So, if it is knowledge level, then it is a set of action verb will be there which will describe the cognition level of the objective. Okay? So, action verb, what will able to do? If I say at the end of the lecture, student will understand outcome based education. Understand, although it is an action verb, but it is not measurable. So, Bloom taxonomy, every level is related to some list of action verb which is measurable. Measurable action verb related to every level. Based on that measurable action verb, we determine the level of the objective. Okay? So, if you see knowledge level, arrange, define, describe may be the comprehension level also. So, there is some action verb which may overlap with one level to another level, but when you understand what is instructional system design, how you write down the outcome, that will reflect the actual level of the objective. So, Bloom taxonomy, there is a certain classification of action verb, but there is a many action verb which are overlapping in nature. That action verb can be a comprehension level, maybe a definition, knowledge, remembering level. That depends on how do you write your objective. So, by simply seeing the action verb, I cannot only determine the level of the cognitive level of the objective. I have to understand what is there in the action, whole objective. So, that also you understand when you see the condition component and criteria component of an objective. So, simply there is some list is given that knowledge related to this kind of action verb, all are verb. So, you cannot say, if I say the stating the current, stating is not an action verb. So, all must be action verb, not gerund. Okay? So, all must be action verb. So, knowledge level corresponding to certain action verb. Application level, so type of comprehension I am not going, details are there. So, comprehension level, there is a set of action verb. Similarly, application level, there is a set of action verb: apply, change, compute, demonstrate, employ, illustrate, interpret, manipulate, prepare, show, solve, use, write, all are application level action verb. Similarly, analysis level, there is action verb, list of action verb in analysis level. I am not going slide details, that you can understand. So, analysis level: analyze, appreciate, break down, calculate, categorize, compare, contract, criticize, diagram. So, diagram, draw the diagram, draw, differentiate, examine, all are analysis level. Then there is a synthesis level, action verb is there. Arrange, assemble, categorize, collect, combine, comply, compose, construct. So, all are there. Those you do not have to remember, because that is already implemented in the software. So, I will show you that action verb you do not, I cannot remember as a teacher all the Bloom taxonomy action verb and their category. Once I write down the objective, I should be able to find out the level of the cognition, that is require a skill. I have to develop that skill. How to develop that skill is important. Similarly, evaluation also action verb is there. Now, if I see the first example, student will know Newton law of motion. Like two questions will ask. Suppose this is my instructional objective is written down. First, as per the domains of learning, what is the level, cognitive level of this instructional objective? This is the question. I am not saying whether the objective is correct or wrong, I do not know. Only I am finding out based on the action verb whether this is a correct object, whether it is a measurable objective, or if it is measurable, then which cognitive domain. If I say student will know Newton's law of motion, what is the verb? Know. Is know measurable? No, is not measurable. So, I cannot say this instructional objective which is written, this instructional objective which is written, if I write the outcome in this way, that is not measurable, simply not measurable. Similarly, teachers will tell why or how. Teachers will tell. It is not said instructional outcome. When I write down the outcome, it is not what teacher will perform, it is what learner will perform. So, it is not learner centric. So, I simply say this is not an instructional objective. I cannot write the outcome in this way. Okay. Similarly, using the given data in table 1, calculate something, yes, and if it is calculate, then I can say it is application level. Okay. Similarly, feel a strong commitment on professional ethics. Feel, how can I measure it? It is not measurable. Simply, student will understand so to operate a machine. Understand is not measurable. I cannot directly measure it. So, when we write an outcome and want to determine the Bloom taxonomy, there is a certain, there is action verb is there. Understand is an action verb, but it is not measurable. So, if this is the objective is given, first I write this is not a correct procedure to writing the outcome, and I do not know the level of the outcome, cognitive level of the outcome. Okay. Similarly, fifth, I think something is there, appreciate the concept of suitable development of engineering design. Student appreciate, what happened? Does not matter whether student appreciate or not, what student will able to do? It is not learner centric, it is totally teacher centric. Teacher said student will appreciate, I assume that student will appreciate. What the student will do? It is not. So, outcome when I write, it is not student centric, it should be learner centric. What learner has to do, not teacher has to do. Understand? So, when I write an outcome using Bloom taxonomy, once I say this kind of verb is appearing, then I say those are not, I cannot finding out the cognitive level, and this is not an instructional objective. Again I will come in ISD, what is instructional objective, how to write it, all details I will come. Okay. Teacher will teach, does not matter to what student will learn. Okay. Then there is another domain which is called psychomotor domain. Next class I will come psychomotor domain and effective domain. Then I go to the ISD, how to design an instructional system, how to use that ISD to writing down the outcome. So, our objective is not to theoretically know the what is Bloom taxonomy, theoretically to understand how I can use Bloom taxonomy, what is the importance of Bloom taxonomy to writing down the outcome. So, domains of learning, mainly when we deal with theoretical class, we call cognitive domain. So, as per the Bloom taxonomy, once I write down the outcome, I should find out what is the cognitive domain level of that outcome as per the Bloom taxonomy. And if I, depending on the level of the teaching, depth required, skill required for the set of learner, my objective will be find out whether this objective is correct or not. Suppose as a teach engineering B or BTech level teacher, I write down a course objective, all are knowledge and comprehension level. If all are knowledge and comprehension level, nobody as a B engineer will want to do that course, because that course is not appropriate cognitive level for them. NBA, Washington Accords, when I measure the quality of engineer or quality of his skill, I never measure it in knowledge and comprehension domain. But that is important. So, when you write down that, you can say that how do you develop the design without knowing the knowledge, that is requirement, but the course goal is not knowledge and comprehension domain. That may be a one lecture goal, one unit goal. So, that we will discuss later on also. Okay? Thank you. So, next class I will start with the psychomotor domain and effective domain. Psychomotor domain we have to understand, because this is required when we write down the outcome of a lab course. Teaching, learning in classroom, it is cognitive domain. But when I go for the lab, it is cognitive domain as well as something is involved in psychomotor domain also. Titration experiment, not only cognitive domain, it also involves psychomotor domain. Surgery, not only cognitive domain, but also psychomotor domain. So, all those things I will explain in the next class. Okay? Thank you.